Afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? I think we've started now, Matt, haven't we? Yes? Good. Welcome to the Place Commission and Assets Implementation Group meeting. We've done this as a webinar because we've got a couple of really good speakers that they're going to be talking. So we've got a bit of business to do at the end of the meeting, but I'm going to just pass straight on to our first speaker, Amy, to introduce herself.
Thanks, Mark, and hello, everybody. This is really strange to say hello to because I can only see myself at the moment, but good to see you all. I'm Amy Harhoff. I'm the Chief Executive of the East Midlands Combined Authority, and I'm going to pop a few slides up now just to share a little bit with you about what the East Midlands Combined Authority role is in the region and try and make that particularly relevant as much as I can to the sector that you all represent. So if I could have my first slide up, please. Next slide. Cool. So forgive me, colleagues, because some of you may know this stuff really well and may have seen us before, but for some it might be the first time. So I will just work on the basis for everybody it's the first time. So Mayoral Combined Authority, so we cover the East Midlands, Nottinghamshire, Nottingham, Derbyshire and Derby, which is a nearly whopping 2.3 million population. We came together just before May 2024 when the election was held, but I think the really important moment is when that election happens and you are mayorally led, and you may know our mayor is Mayor Claire Ward. And the job really for the Combined Authority is to bring that voice and heft to driving investment into the region and then driving it around the region. You may or may not know we're actually one of the largest combined authority areas in the country. So you often hear a lot about Greater Manchester, West Midlands, West Yorkshire. Well, we're just a slither in size behind West Yorkshire. So from a national perspective, it's very important for UK PLC for the East Midlands to thrive and to do well. And I'll talk a little bit about how we've been making inroads into that particularly important agenda of securing more investment into the region. You can see a few big statistics up there on your slide. We are hefty, we are big, we are a £60 billion economy. The bit the slide doesn't say, though, is that whilst we're a 60 billion economy, and that makes us big, we are smaller than we should be because we do have a continued and persistent productivity gap in the region. So really the East Midlands should be closer to 75, 80 billion. And our ambition is to grow that economy, but to do that in a way that's to the benefit widely in the region. And I'll mention a little bit about the inclusive growth agenda. Significant number of businesses. Of course, many of us know some of our bigger household names, the Alstones, the Toyota, the Rolls-Royce, who are obviously major companies employing collectively tens of thousands of people. But we are a largely SME base in the region. So really important that what we do balances the needs of big business, global companies, but also acts as an enabler to small to medium-sized enterprises. I will move to my next slide if I can, please. I will save the Chris Whitty jokes because they have been done. So just so you know what we've got in terms of what we're responsible for, powers to the mayor. So all of the levers affect in terms of the economy, transport and infrastructure, roll around skills, housing investment, investment funds into the region, key priorities around climate change and resilience, and increasingly some of those more public service agendas. So mayors have health duties, and there will also be an expectation that they take in those police and crime commissioner functions in our region in the next couple of years. So responsible for a lot of things. As many of you, I think, in this sector particularly will be fully aware of, the East Midlands, whilst it's got a hell of a lot to boast, has been, I think, underserved is the best way to put it, by public funding historically. And one of the kind of stark statistics when you look at things like transport investment, look at the Treasury's own figures, the East Midlands has been at the bottom of the investment league table for a long time. So you get the normal comparisons with places like London, where you might reasonably expect those statistics to be higher, but what you wouldn't necessarily expect to see is that South Yorkshire, Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire see double the investment historically per head, per capita in transport. And of course, that is relevant, particularly to this agenda, to the construction industry, to the supply chain. It doesn't just mean we've got poorer transport links, but it actually means we don't get those big benefits from the construction of some of those major projects. But I'm pleased to say the dial is starting to shift, and that is as a direct result of being rewarded for coming together as a region under a mayoral authority. So one of the big announcements we received in the spring statement was £2.2 billion of investments into our transport system, and that is for us to deliver locally. So that will cover everything from things like improvements to our public transport assets, road maintenance and major road schemes. And we've also seen as well a more interest, I think, nationally, improvements like the A50 and other things come through the national schemes. So I think we've got reason to be hopeful. We're starting to see the dial shift. A number of other significant investments have been announced in the region. There was you get a little bit used to these numbers and sometimes should perhaps absorb them a little bit more, but 2.5 billion in the Step Fusion Energy programme, which is a huge cluster which runs through Nottinghamshire, through close to Gainsborough in West Lindsey. Massive investment in game-changing technology, and it's coming to our region, and a really good example of a public-private partnership there to drive investment in the region over the long term. So I won't rehearse the full list of investments figures there on your screen because you can see them, but I think the overarching point is we're starting to now see the confidence of more long-term consistent infrastructure investment coming into our region, which I know is a huge challenge and market failure for the construction sector, that stop-start, that inability to be able to really plan and see a pipeline. And having investment into the region now allows us to do that much more effectively. And the good news is we've got the money. The necessary news is that we have to deliver, and of course this sector, public and private working together, are absolutely important to the execution of that deal. And I'm happy to take any questions on those as we come to the end. I'll move on to my next slide if I can, please. I mentioned at the start, so it's not just about growth for our region, it is about inclusive growth. We're a huge place, 5,000 square kilometres, from a core city in Nottingham to the Peaks and Dales. We've got really diverse communities, some communities doing really well, other places experiencing real challenges. And our job is to grow the size of the cake and then to make sure that everybody feels the benefit of that wealth that we create in our economy. And that's why we've delivered our inclusive growth mission. You can see a snazzy picture there with reference to today. That is a picture of myself and the mayor and a number of colleagues working with young women in the construction centre in Nottingham. And it's just an illustration of one of the many things that we need to do, for example, women in construction, to make for a more inclusive economy and to make sure that we've got the workforce of the future to deliver. I'll keep moving if I can, please. So some big hefty numbers, as I said, we've got a lot to be positive about in our region, but we do have some gaps. So we recently launched our growth plan, which sets some hard targets on how we want to do better. It is not a new thing for a region to say it wants to do more housing and to say it wants to achieve more, but actually it's important to give yourself that North Star to focus on. So we have set ourselves a target of executing an additional £13 billion into the economy. We will support the delivery of 100 1,000 new homes, which would meet the government targets for the region under the new planning framework, 10,000 homes a year. And really, really importantly, it's not just that that's 10,000 homes, but it is the creation of places. It is ensuring the right mix of homes, social, affordable, buy to rent. And we know that in order to do that, there are some massive viability challenges that the sector faces. So working in a really integrated way to understand the market failures in terms of not just the delivery of numbers of homes, but the type of homes, and how can we use those investment funds that I talked about on a previous page to really leverage the public and private sector to deliver. I will move on. So there's lots and lots that we need to do. It probably would be right, given my audience, to just kind of reference the importance of the construction sector in here as well to enable us. We calculate that it's about 60,000 jobs in our economy are broadly employed in the construction and enabling sectors. I think when you take into account some of the more professional services and enabling services, planning, etc., it's much bigger than that. But even just in broad terms, a hefty number. This is an important sector to our region, but actually that number is, if you benchmark it, is less than the national average that you would expect for our population size and construction numbers. And I think there's an inevitability that there'll be a direct correlation between that and the sort of public and private investment that the region has seen. So we're really driven to driving up that investment because of all the wider benefits that it receives. You will have seen, hopefully, that we were identified as an area in Derby for a national construction college. So something we worked on collectively together, local authority, private sector and the combined authority, because we know how important this sector and skills in this sector are to our region. And I think that may bring me to the end. You always talk for much more than you think you do. Yeah, so I mean, I think just to sum up, I appreciate I'm imparting a lot there in terms of a big theme, but really welcome any questions, reflections, experiences from the room in the combined authority so far, but really keen to hear about the experiences in the sector and what it's like delivery on the ground at the moment and how we can better support you. I think I'm going to stop there. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Amy. That was really good, really informative, some fantastic figures there. And it really gives you a sense of what, particularly in the East Midlands, what the place agenda is about. So before I open it up to the floor for questions, I've got one, because I know you haven't always worked at East Midlands Combined Authority, Amy. You've worked all over. And I just wondered from a personal perspective, what the word place, how would you describe place, or what does place mean to you as an individual, as a public sector servant or whatever it is? And how do you think the construction industry could support you in delivering your objectives around that place agenda?
And I'm probably going to give you quite a mushy answer for this, for my audience, but I will come on to how I think the private sector. I think place is as much about your civic identity and your pride as it is exactly where you live and where your council boundaries are drawn. You know, if you use probably one of the best examples that many of us know about a pride of place, I think many of us see that in somewhere like Greater Manchester. Well, that's absolutely massive. You know, there's 2.8 million people there. You couldn't identify that as what we'd usually say is a place. But I think it's because of the growth in Manchester and around, and because everybody is so proud of that really public private sector leadership that they showed, people want to identify with it. So I think to your question, how can you help? How can I help? I think we have a collective institutional responsibility to be proud of our place and to deliver. And I think in doing that, people identify with the place that we are from.
Yeah, and do you think? Sorry, I'm going to just ask a quick follow on, because I used to work at Stockport Council many years ago, and so I know that part of the country, and they've had some big challenges there, haven't they, in terms of, you know, I mean, some real horrific things that have happened in Manchester. And do you think that them sort of things have bound them people together and made them a tighter unit in terms of getting the best what they want from the Manchester region?
I think what we can learn from Manchester and other places, and I think what the East Midlands is increasingly doing, is to acknowledge that we are stronger together. So whether you are public, whether you are private, acting lockstep in pursuit of a region, in pursuit of a bigger goal, I think is what we learn from other places, and I think we are increasingly doing that as East Midlands.
Good. Good. I'll open it up now to the people on the webinar. Does anybody want to ask a question? I think Louise Dodds is going to ask one, I think, regarding CA funding.
I don't know if Louise wants to come up on, or if she says it's for the end of the session, whether we want to pick it up.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll pick it up at the end of the session. Gren, do you want to ask something? Your hands up, Gren.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my mic and my camera working now. No, I can. Hello, Amy. My question's on new towns. Given the size of what you got out there, are you involved in any of the new town initiatives?
Yeah, so I think the government made their announcement a few weeks ago for the new towns that will be successful. There isn't currently one in our region, albeit there's some that, given the scale of them, are close enough to have an impact. But I think in terms of the broader point around kind of scalable big housing programs, creating place, not just housing sites. One of the things that we've done, if you're not familiar with it, is our 7 priority spatial areas, including one that's called the Trent Arc, which is a cluster that runs from Derby through to Nottingham and up the Trent. And massive part of that is obviously considerable housing investment, but alongside a kind of broader investment in place and an employment. So very, very happy if it's helpful at a future point to come and talk to the sector in a bit more detail about how we're delivering at that sort of cluster level.
No, thank you. That'd be very useful given what's going to come over the horizon with the new towns. Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Matt, is anybody raising their hand that I can't see? I can't see everybody on my bit, but no. Sorry, Matt, you're still on mute.
So I've just given Louise access to unmute herself.
Oh, that's great. That's why I couldn't do it before. So thank you. I appreciate that. Obviously, you talked in one of the slides, obviously, about, investing, where you'd mentioned sort of people's skills, developing skills, obviously adult skills and things like that. One of the things that most organisations are finding very difficult at the moment is being able to fund that, particularly for people who are in existing organisations, construction organisations, people working on site or people working in the office. Traditionally, that would be CITB funding, and that's naturally been hit hard this year. Is there any sort of combined authority funding for things like that to support employers, or?
Yeah, and I don't know if it directly answers your question about NVQs, sorry, Louise, but there are different skills funding programs that we have. So we have the devolution of the adult education budget, which obviously covers beyond construction, but does include funding to a number of institutions, including the one on the screen that will cover the construction industry. I mentioned as well the construction colleges, and then we also have some more discrete funds. So one of the things that we've got is a Connect to Work programme. which is about bringing obviously people who've been further from the labour market, long-term health issues, etc., working intensively with people to bring them back to employment. And another one we have is a youth guarantee trailblazer, which again is about particularly for young people who've come from deprived backgrounds, helping them directly into employment. So there's a number of programs that we've got, and if it is helpful, I can arrange to drop you a note offline just with everything we've got and how that breaks down.
That would be perfect, because I am looking to work with an organisation across the northeast and the northwest, as well as moving into sort of the East Midlands area, where we're looking to potentially put together, see, like our own skills boot camp to try and get more training and then qualifications, get people more employable, and helping sort of local people as well. So we are with it's early stages from that perspective, but it was just trying to see if there was anything. I'm trying to just capture lots of information to see what funding is out there across the areas, to try and help get us off the ground with it. So that's great. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for that, Louise. Is there anybody else that would like a question before we let Amy go? Or Amy's welcome to stay for the rest of the session. Is anybody else, Matt?
Not that I can see.
Good. Right. Thank you very much, Amy. That was fantastic. I hope you got as much out as what we did, but we'd definitely be asking you back at a future session at some point. So really, thank you very much. You're welcome to stay on, but I understand you're a busy person, so
no problem. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye. Right, the next speaker is... Okay. Right, Linda, off you go.
Thank you.
They're rejoining now, so hopefully we'll get a few on.
It's loading my slides. So thank you very much, Mark, and thank you for inviting me to join the webinar today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Linda Stevens. I'm Head of Client Development at the Chartered Institute of Building. I'm responsible for the client strategy, CIOB's client strategy, which was launched in March 2023. The overall aim of the client strategy is to engage with all types of clients, including homeowners, to understand their needs and to develop useful resources to support them. We're adding resources all the time, and they're available free of charge on the dedicated pages of the CIOB website. There is a QR code on this screen that will take you to the CIOB web pages. The client strategy is supported by a growing number of client champions, currently 35 exemplar clients and influencers in the industry, who are willing to share their knowledge and expertise to benefit less experienced clients. But at the heart of our resources, for those working in a professional capacity, either on a regular or occasional basis, is the CIOB's Client Guide, Leading Projects in the Built Environment, which was first published as part of the strategy's launch in March 2023. The current second edition of the guide was published in March this year, with an official launch at the Houses of Parliament in June. We were there at the invitation of Mike Reeder, MP, Labour's business champion for construction and chair of the all-party parliamentary group for excellence in the built environment. Mike endorses the client guide and its focus on the central importance of construction clients. The current edition has been updated throughout and includes new sections on sustainability, digital and data, and building safety. We see it as important for leveraging the outcomes that we as a society need from the construction sector. And given its success so far, we're driven to spread the word to every segment of the client body. The Client Guide is a real opportunity for us to strengthen the relationship between CLC and CIOB in a way that helps us achieve our shared aspirations to do two things. Firstly, to deliver better, safer, greener and more productive outcomes for society. And secondly, to create a thriving sector that is resilient to the challenges of our age. We all know the crucial role that clients play in shaping the success or failure of construction projects. A well-informed, engaged and responsible client can be the single greatest enabler of excellence. Conversely, poor client leadership can derail the most promising project, erode trust, and damage reputations across the supply chain. Our client guide was designed precisely to address this reality. It provides practical, accessible, and evidence-based guidance to public and private non-domestic clients on how to commission, lead, and deliver built environment projects successfully. Since its publication, the guide has been downloaded over 700 times and has garnered real traction across the sector. It's endorsed not just by Mike Reeder, but by other industry leaders too, influential voices such as Mark Farmer, Ola Obadara of the City of London Corporation, Roslyn Onegbu of Thames Water, and Graham Lewis of Cardiff Metropolitan University, to name but a few. And the number of times it's been downloaded and no doubt shared as a PDF between colleagues is a strong signal of industry demand and recognition. This is a rare validation for any professional document, underlining both the timeliness and the credibility of its message. But while these successes are important, they only scratch the surface of what the guide could achieve if amplified through CLC. The overlap between CLC's stated objectives and the guide is striking. CLC's made it clear that digital adoption, industrialisation and modern methods of construction are essential for boosting productivity. The CIOB Client Guide echoes this by emphasising the role of clients in setting clear digital expectations, supporting early contractor engagement and enabling innovation in procurement. By equipping clients to embrace soft skills, data, platforms and modern delivery methods, the guide puts into action the very changes CLC is seeking to drive. CLC's commitment to a net zero built environment is well known. Our client guide positions sustainability as a non-negotiable element of client leadership, urging clients to integrate carbon reduction and whole life performance into their decision-making from the outset. By embedding sustainability in client leadership, the guide directly supports CLC's mission to accelerate the sector's transition to net zero. CLC has worked tirelessly to ensure safe, high-quality buildings following the Grenfell tragedy. The CIOB Client Guide reinforces these objectives by equipping clients with the knowledge to demand competence, maintain the golden thread of information, and hold delivery teams accountable. By endorsing the guide, CLC would show joined-up leadership in ensuring building safety remains at the forefront of every client decision. CLC has prioritised energising the workforce and attracting new talent. CIOB's guidance speaks to this by encouraging clients to support fair procurement practices, reduce adversarial behaviours, and invest in collaborative approaches that create healthier working cultures. By empowering clients to improve conditions across projects, the guide indirectly strengthens skills attraction and retention. Fairer, more transparent business models are central to CLC's agenda. Our client guide encourages clients to adopt practices that reduce risk shifting, ensure fair payment, and promote long-term value. In this way, the guide helps address insolvency risks and supports procurement approaches that reward quality and sustainability, not just lowest cost. Finally, whether it is housing retrofit or large-scale placemaking, the guide provides generic principles that are equally relevant: clarity of leadership, integration of sustainability, and community-focused outcomes. These are entirely consistent with CLC's wider objectives for improving the fabric of our built environment. The need for alignment between CIOB and CLC has never been greater. The UK faces a challenging socio-economic landscape. Economic volatility has increased risks for contractors and clients alike, demanding clearer leadership and smarter procurement. Housing and infrastructure needs continue to outstrip supply, requiring greater productivity and efficiency. and climate targets remain urgent, with construction central to decarbonisation. Public trust in the industry still suffers in the wake of safety failures and inconsistent delivery. In this context, clients cannot be left without guidance. They must be empowered to lead in a way that unlocks innovation, ensures accountability, and delivers value for money alongside societal benefits. By endorsing the CIOB's guide, the CLC can send a powerful signal to clients across the public and private sectors that leadership matters and that we have a shared evidence-based blueprint for doing it well. Some of you might ask why the CLC should endorse an external guide when it already has its own work streams and priorities, and indeed its own topic-specific guidance for clients. The answer is simple. Endorsement is not duplication, it is amplification. CLC endorsement would elevate the guide's reach. Clients in both public and private sectors pay attention to CLC recommendations. Your endorsement would bring the guide to boardrooms, developers, and local authorities nationwide. It would show unity of purpose. In a fragmented industry, visible collaboration between CLC and CIOB would send a message of cohesion and shared direction. It would strengthen influence with government. With the guide already recognised in some quarters of Parliament, CLC backing would give it even greater legitimacy as a tool for policy and procurement reform. It would support your own objectives. By adopting the guide, you accelerate the delivery of your own strategic priorities from net zero to fair business models. Put simply, CLC endorsement would not only add value to the guide, but also add momentum to your own mission. And of course, no guide is perfect. The second edition of the client guide has been very well received, partly because it's relatively succinct. However, there are areas where additional content could increase its appeal and usefulness. One such area is planning, previously held to be beyond scope, but clearly critical for clients. Similarly, more depth could be added on the integration of digital twins, social value, and ESG reporting. This presents an opportunity. By collaborating, CIOB and CLC could co-author a third edition of the guide that addresses these gaps, ensuring it reflects the full spectrum of the industry's needs. In doing so, the third edition could become more than a professional publication. It could serve as the joint manifesto for client leadership in the UK built environment, carrying the authority of both organisations. So my call to action today is that our guide has already demonstrated its value, but if the CLC lends its endorsement, its potential is far, far greater. I would like you to consider, through whatever channels Mark advises, to consider formally endorsing the CIOB's Client Guide, second edition, as best practice guidance for clients across the UK. To promote the guide across your networks and work streams, embedding its principles into your delivery priorities from net zero to productivity, and potentially to commit to co-developing a third edition with the CIOB that addresses gaps such as planning and ESG, ensuring the guidance remains relevant and comprehensive. By doing so, you'll not only strengthen the guide, but you will also, we hope, strengthen your own mission. Thanks for listening. The QR code on the final screen will take you to the page where you can download the client guide if you haven't seen it already.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. That was fantastic. Really good, positive. A lot of works. I don't underestimate the amount of work that's gone into that client guide, and you continue to invest in it. So, I mean, what I will do is look at how we could formally, potentially, adopt that sort of process and how it could link into our 2026 action plan, which I'm going to talk about next as well. So it's really good. Thank you. Is there any questions for Linda? David, how are you, sir?
I'm okay now, thanks. I'm unmuted. Thank you, Mark. Lynn, you can hear me, can you?
Yes, David, I can
Jolly
hear you.
good. Thanks, Linda. That was really informative. So I sit not necessarily on the client side, but more on the consultants on the professional services side. What could we do to maybe, as well as promoting it on social media networks and whatnot, what's the sort of the main thing that we as a professional services organisation could do to promote the objectives of the guide?
Well, when you're working with any client, recommend it as a best practice guide under any circumstances, really. I don't know enough about your background, so I can't recommend anything other than that. The more people that actually view the guide, the better. We really designed it for less experienced clients, and we're being advised that it's really very useful for even experienced clients because things change all the time. Sorry, there's a bit of background noise. So whenever you're talking to a client, particularly less experienced clients, I think the guide serves as a very useful publication. Promote it as far and as wide as possible.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you. I mean, actually, you find that some quite experienced clients could really use the guide as well and apply the principles. No, thank you.
Any other questions for Linda? I've obviously read the guide and thinking about how I can utilise it. And I think it's really important that, again, if you haven't seen the guide, then please download it and have a look at it, because it is an interesting document. And I'm sure it'll serve you in some way, shape or form, especially if you're engaging with clients. And
I made mention of the 35 client champions that we work with on a regular basis. They pretty much all had some input into the guide. So we are gathering together knowledge and expertise from across the industry through our client champions. If there's anybody on the call who would be interested in becoming one of those client champions, then do get in touch after the call and I will have a chat with you.
Good. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much.
Leave that in your safe hands, Mark.
If you're going to leave the event, Linda, please don't press end event.
I won't. I promise. I'll just press leave.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Would you like me to share your thing now, Mark?
Yes, please. Grant, have we got anybody else from our usual working group on the call? I'm just checking. I don't know how many we've got. We've not got many left, have we?
There's about 4 people on.
Oh, God. Right, Grant, there's only me and you from the working group on here, so I think so. This is our plan for 2026. I weren't planning on going into massive detail around it, but obviously, as name is place, commission, and asset, so we've got a stream of work for each one of them things. So we've summarised them into 3 areas. So place has got 3 areas, commissioning's got 3 areas, and assets has got 3 areas. So this is the proposed plan. Again, Gren, do we need to formally sign this off at this meeting?
I think, given that we've dropped some out, and there's 3 apologies because we've got coinciding board meetings, so we haven't got Alison Nichol, Kate Jennings, or Mary Claude. So what we probably need to do is probably do a note following the meeting with that task in mind. Yeah, so I think we'll send an email out asking for approval for this, but that's there for your information, people that are left on the call. And that's what we're going. So you're more than welcome to keep engaged with the group. We meet once every 3 months, so it's not an onerous task, generally on Teams, but we are trying to get an in-person meeting at some point in the future. But obviously people are spread all over the country, so at the minute it's on Teams. Is there anything else, Gren, we want to say? The other thing I'll say today is that we do have a reaching occasional clients meeting set up for the 2nd of December. So that's basically getting together those organisations or even companies that are in a position to advise clients and influence clients. So one of the challenges the industry has is the fact that a lot of clients don't know their clients. They're business owners or organisations that have got a construction need, and therefore they don't necessarily relate to the term client. And that's one of the things we've got to try and crack and find how we can get to them. So we'll post that as well. And again, the meeting's open to anybody wishing to participate initially while we actually get to grips with how we best tackle it.
Thank you, Grant. So that's it. Is there anybody else want to, is there any other business or anybody wants to raise anything prior to us finishing the event? No.
Oh, can I just ask David Staniforth, who actually works for?
Yes, Perfect Circle and ACOM.
Oh, ACOM. Right, got ACOM as our membership in the CCLG.
I think I was hoping that you'd know Perfect Circle more, but ACOM was fine, thank you.
To my shame, no, I don't. But I would like to get in touch with you, David, because I would like some input on what we're doing with the reaching occasional clients. So that would be ideal if you can spare some time.
Yeah, happy to. Drop me a line. We can get a slot sorted out.
Thank you. Much appreciated.